I get the thing together. I'd like to call open this meeting on Monday, February 3rd, 2025. It's in the SRWA boardroom, and let's get started. So, first of all, we have confirmation of the form. Confirmed. Awesome, thank you. Moving on, do we have any? Do we have any public comments? No, nobody wants to talk about it? Okay. Sounds good. Now we will have action item number 1, the consideration and possible action on approval of the January 6th, 2025 board meeting minutes. I will. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. That item passes. And moving on to number 2, the general manager's report.
Mr. President, Marilyn Gilbert here. I'm going to be reporting on items A through E through staff, and we're going to start with item number A, operational chemical optimization and financial report by Mr. Garza and Mr. Santillán. So Mr. Garza is already at the podium, and he will be starting the presentation.
Hello, Mr. President, members of the board. My name is Jose Armando Garza, and I'll be presenting the production and distribution report for the month ended December 31st, 2024. And this is going to be on the tab 2 of your binder. And I'm going to start on column C. For the SRWA total distribution, the year-to-date is 617.307 million gallons, for a daily distribution of 6.710 million gallons per day. Under column F, we have the distribution for BPUB, and the year-to-date is 587.470 million gallons, for a daily average of 6.386 million gallons per day. The column G, we have the distribution for body month number 2, and the year-to-date is 13.649 million gallons, for a daily average of 0.148 million gallons per day. Under column H, we have the distribution for City of Los Fresnos, and the year-to-date is 1.990 million gallons, for a daily average of 0.022 million gallons per day. The column I, we have the credit for B&D, and the year-to-date is 12.963 million gallons, for an average of 0.141 million gallons per day. Under column J, we have the allocation for Indian Lake, and the year-to-date is 1.235 million gallons, for an average of 0.013 million gallons per day. Below that, we have the true-ups. As you can see, Brownview is over by 3.93 million gallons. Valley Mud is under by 1.85 million gallons. And the City of Los Fresnos is down by 12.8 million gallons. The City of Los Fresnos is trying to save, because they're expecting a shutdown in the near future. So whenever they do a shutdown, they're gonna be getting a lot more water for us. And at that time, they're gonna balance this over.
That's going to happen this year, right?
That's gonna happen this year, yes.
Yeah, they just started cleaning their basin today.
Today?
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
they're already getting a lot of their water from us.
Great.
On this page, we have the production and distribution for the month of December 2024. And I'm going to start on the third column from the left. The total water produced was at 218.165 million gallons, for an average of 7.038 million gallons per day. To the far right, we have the distribution in the plant, and that was at 209.992 million gallons, for an average of 6.774 million gallons per day. Below that, we have the chemical consumption for December, and that was at 24,963.17. And the electrical consumption was 72,022.17 million, thousand dollars. In this following page, staff reports events that reduce the plant shutdown and the plant production. And for this month, on December the 3rd, we have an issue with a microfiltration Ethernet switch, and we were down for 5 hours for that.
I know I've brought this up before, but wow, that seems like a long time for something that is really so simple. And I know there's the issue with troubleshooting and then also having equipment off-site. And it's, yeah, we're at the point where it's not a big deal right now, 5 hours being closed down now. But again, you know, this is something to think about for the summer. Having that much downtime, yeah, is there something that seems like the filtration unit failing because its switch has failed off, so it doesn't seem like a good failure mechanism.
Yeah, I guess important to know that SRWA doesn't have electrical and technicians on site. So as soon as we see that the issue, we initiate the process of procuring the people to come down here. These instrument technicians, I think there's 2 of them, and they take care of 5 plants, 3 water plants and 2 wastewater plants. They do prioritize these plants because we call them and they come over, but sometimes it's hard for them to just drop what they're doing and then coming over here. And then they get here and they need to troubleshoot to see what the problem is, and that's the reason for this 5 hours.
Right. No, I don't think anybody did anything bad, like at this position, at this time. It's just, maybe we should step back and rethink the way we handle these issues. Yeah, especially these sensor issues. I don't have the answer. Yeah, we can talk about it, but yeah, just thought I'd bring that up.
And we also, this past week, we had a meeting with the instrument technicians and the electricians, and they're compiling a list of things that can go wrong, or pieces of equipment that can go wrong. They're putting that together. Once they get us the quote with the prices, we're probably going to come back to the board for approval of those parts.
Okay.
It's going to be like over $50,000, yeah.
Okay, yeah, any information about mean time between failures and you know, stuff like that would help with that decision-making process.
Sure. And this page is the monthly analysis that we obtained. As you can see, for December, we're still meeting the TCEQ's MCL and our goal, which is more stringent. We're still under for the iron, manganese, and arsenic. On this page, we report the pumps that were on when those analyses were taken, so we can know how different wells react to those analyses. On this page, we have the manganese levels according to the blend of water that we have. We've been at 10% blend, and we've been meeting the manganese MCL. The following page is the arsenic level. And again, at the dose that we are at this point on chlorine dioxide, we're still meeting the MCL. The MCL is being 0.010, and we're at 0.001. So we're good in there. Following page, we're just comparing water production, comparing fiscal years 2024 and 2025. And on this last slide, we're tracking the water production for the 3 BPUV surface water plants. As you can see, for December, actually SRWA produced more than plants 1 and plants 2. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we proceed to the financial report.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and members of the board. My name is Jorge Santillan, Finance Manager. I'm going to go over the financial report as of December 31st, 2024. We're going to be looking at the last column, FY 2025 year-to-date. Beginning with operating revenues from member assessments. At the end of the quarter, at the end of the month, they total 1,150,172. From here, we back out line number 10, which is total operating expenses of 1,216,921. This results in operating income of 733,251. Following page. We add the line number 18, which is net and non-operating revenues of 41,821. This results in income before capital contributions of 775,072. There are no capital contributions. We end up with a change in net position on line 21 of 775,072. From here, we add the net position at the beginning of the year of 24,534,856. This results in a net position at the end of the December 31st of 25,309,928. The last two pages, this is the summary of budget and actuals, expenses by account. And this is the end of the presentation. Any questions?
Any questions? No, I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, we have item B, quarterly investment report.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and members of the board. My name is Miriam Camacho. I'm the Treasury and Accounting Manager for the Accounting and Treasury Department. I'll be going over the quarterly investment report for the quarter ended December 31st, 2024. This report is prepared for the SRWA in accordance with Chapter 2256 of the Public Funds Investment Act. The investment portfolio complied with the PFIA, the Public Funds Investment Act, and with SRWA's investment policy. I'll be going over columns A, C, E, and F. Starting with the asset class column A, bank deposits with a market value of $1,250,130.23 with the percentage of 9.27 and a yield to maturity of 4.15. Continuing with certificates of deposit with a market value of $2,619,000 with a percentage of 19.42 and a yield to maturity of 5.32. Investment pools, market value of $7,999,391 with 46 cents with a portfolio percentage of 59.33%. Yield to maturity, 4.59. And the last asset class item would be the money market mutual fund with a market value of $1,614,441 with 73 cents with the portfolio percentage of 11.97 and a yield to maturity of 4.41. This is detail of those investments just mentioned, with the bank deposits from lines 1 and 2 with a market value of $1,250,130 with 23 cents, and it ranges from 1.65 yield to maturity of 1.65 to 4.17. Certificates of deposit lines 4 through 14 with the market value of $2,619,000 and rates ranging from 4.55 to 5.60. Continue with investment pools from lines 16 and 17 with rates from 4.46 through 4.48, and Texas term investments ranging from 4.51 through 5.35 with a market value of $7,999,391 with 46 cents. And the money market mutual fund with a market value of $1,614,441.73 with a yield to maturity of 4.41, giving us a total in market value for the portfolio of $13,482,963 with 42 cents with a yield to maturity of 4.67. Thank you. Any questions?
Next item that we have is item C, SRWA grant activity update.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and members of the board. I am Miriam Suarez, Senior Grants Coordinator based out of the Finance Department, and this afternoon I'm here to provide an update on grant activity for SRWA. I begin with a quick recap of fiscal year 2024, in which there were a little over $20.5 million in grant requests submitted through 3 applications and a direct ask through the Congressman's Office of $40 million to be placed in the Water Resources Development Act that authorizes projects to be funded through a separate appropriations bill. And I'll be going over each application. So the first application is the Wellfield and Brackish Groundwater Treatment Facility Improvements Project. And this application was submitted to the Bureau of Reclamation through its Water Smart Desalination Construction Projects under the WIN Act. The grant request was for approximately $10.6 million with a total project cost of around $42.4 million. The project scope includes the reconstruction of 20 existing wells, construction of 2 new wells, and facility improvements including electrical and RO modifications. We did receive a notice of award January 14th with a partial award of a little over $5 million. We did have a debriefing with the BOR last Monday to review the application and what we could do to improve for the next time, because we did score high enough to be considered for an award, but we didn't score at the top, so to receive a full funding. And so the next steps include a pre-award process where we'll discuss the project scope and budget with the BOR and then head into signing a financial assistance agreement, and this is expected to be mid-year 2025. The next application is the new wells for drought resiliency and groundwater reliability project. This is also through the BOR, through their Water Smart Drought Response Program, the Drought Resiliency Grants. The grant request was for a little over $8.7 million with a total project cost of about $9.2. And the project scope includes the construction of 2 new wells that will add 726 acre-feet per year to the existing water supply. And we are expecting a notice of award or an announcement sometime this month. And the last application that was submitted is for the Generator Improvements Project. This is through Texas Division of Emergency Management through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And the grant request was for about $1.1 million. The total project cost $1.3. And the project scope includes the purchase and installation of 11 emergency generators for the existing water wells, in addition to the foundations and security fencing. And we are pending notice of award for this, and there is no anticipated announcement date. And the last one is the SRWA desalination plant expansion project. And as stated, this is through federal legislation, the Water Resources Development Act. The appropriation request was for $40 million and it was very general water and wastewater infrastructure development. The act itself was enacted in December of last year, but funding for these type of projects that are approved through WARDA have to go through a separate appropriations bill. And so we are pending that. And so this concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So next we have item number D, the welfare performance and rolling rehabilitation.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. My name is Michael Esquivel. I'm a lead operator here at SRWA. I'm the one overseeing the well field. My presentation is going to be well field performance and well rehabilitation. We're going to watch a short video of what is a well.
Wells are used to extract water from aquifers. A well is a long tube that penetrates the aquifer. The well casing is a lining for the drilled hole that seals out contaminated water from the surface and undesirable water from formations above the aquifer. The casing also keeps the aquifer materials from going into the well and collapsing it. Inside the casing is the column pipe. The column pipe is where the water actually travels from the aquifer to the surface. There is often a well screen on the bottom of the column pipe. Wells rely on pumps to move water through the pipe. The pump may be located on the surface above the well, or they may be installed at the bottom of the column pipe. Pumps move water from the aquifer to the surface. In doing so, the aquifer level near the well tends to decrease or draw down. Large drawdowns are harmful and usually mean the well is over-pumping the aquifer, or there are problems in the well. After the well is constructed, it needs to be developed. Well development is necessary to eliminate sand content, silt, and turbidity in the well, and is an integral part of the construction. Disinfection is also needed upon well completion and every time the well is entered for maintenance. Ongoing efforts should include management of land uses surrounding a well or well field. Water moves to the well in the cone of influence. The cone of influence is the distance from the well that some form of drawdown occurs. Drawdown will affect other wells, so care must be taken not to cause other wells to go dry by overpumping. A well field occurs where many wells are located within close proximity to one another. The drawdowns overlap, so wells must be spaced to prevent mining of the aquifer. The aquifer level in the vicinity of a well may recede seasonally or during long dry periods when recharge to the aquifer is at its minimum. The installation of additional wells in an area with overlapping cones of depression can also cause the water table to recede. A submersible pump is a turbine pump with its motor close coupled beneath the bowls of the pumping unit. The entire unit is installed underwater. The pump motor is cooled by water flowing vertically past the motor to the pump intake. These are the most common pumps for wells over 20 feet deep. A rotary pump combines the positive discharge characteristic of the reciprocating pump with the constant, steady discharge of a centrifugal pump. Impulse pumps produce pumping action by directly applying pressurized air or water into the well below the water level to force groundwater to the surface. Pump selection primarily depends on economics. The type of pump selected should give the best, most economical service. Factors to be considered include capacity, depth of well and pumping level, inside diameter of the well, condition of the borehole and whether it is straight or crooked, chemical and abrasive properties of the water, friction loss, and type of available power and costs. Wells usually provide relatively consistent, maintenance-free water supplies over many years.
Try this honey trick tonight, and tomorrow you'll wake up with your tools standing tall. Want to know the dirty little secret of adult film actors? Then
At this point,
Okay, so that's what a well is. Here we got some definitions. GPM is gallons per minute. Static level, that's the water level when the pump is off. Pumping level, that's the water level when the pump is on. Drawdown level, that's the pumping level minus your static level. And specific capacity, the rate of well yield per unit of drawdown. And it's gallons per minute divided by your drawdown, that'll give you your specific capacity. So in this presentation, I'll be talking about the well performance. This is a picture of the inside of one of our wells on the left. Here at SRWA, we have 20 wells in our well field. They're dug to about 300 feet each. Picture right next to it, it's the layout of the well field. It rests along Rancho Viejo, a little bit north of Rancho Viejo. These wells pump between 350 gallons per minute all the way up to 700 gallons per minute. This is a chart of our specific capacity over the years. To the very left, it's 2004. That's our baseline specific capacity for each well. And over the years, what starts happening is that specific capacity starts to decline, so it starts to decrease, meaning our level in our well, we're having to pump lower than where we were originally. So originally, if our well only had to pump 20 feet of drawdown, that was giving us our 350 gallons per minute or 400 gallons per minute. Now it's pumping all the way down to about 120 feet, meaning there's restriction in that screen, not allowing that water to flow through the way it was before. Here on the far right, it's the 2024 specific capacity decline. So each well is listed here, and average, we've lost about 65% of our specific capacity of our well field. The wells highlighted, which is well 7, well 17, and well 18, those wells were chosen for rehab. They were rehabbed back in 2020. We were hoping for a significant, regain some of the capacity that was lost, but the capacity that we gained from it was only 4 to 8% recovery from that. So we do have other wells that need to be rehabbed. Well, they all need to be rehabbed, and we're gonna rehab, I believe, 4 wells in 2022. That was placed on hold due to some TCEQ, issues. We got that cleared up, and now we're ready to do our rehab again. I have a PDF or an Excel sheet that I would like to share. Hope y'all can see this, but on the screen here, I have static level of each well, averaging about 45 feet in each well, and I have pumping levels. So these pumps, they're set at 220 feet below the ground surface, and in that column pipe, that water is pushed up to the static level, which is about 45 feet. And when the pump's turned on, it'll drop down to 127 feet, 130 feet. And that difference between the pumping level and static level, that's your drawdown. So when we first started in 2004, the drawdown was only about 20 to 30 feet. Now we're over 100 feet, meaning these well screens are getting plugged, and it's time for rehab. So further right, we have a gallons per minute. So we're pumping 470, 700. So it's still a good pumping rate. We haven't really lost water flow that we're taking out of the ground. We're just losing just that level is getting lower. This next slide here, on the left-hand side, this is the different types of wells. We have the non-flowing artesian well. This is what we have here. We're tapped into a confined aquifer, and this dotted line here shows us the static level. So the static level, that's how much water that is pushed up from that confined aquifer, and it's basically leveling off with the inlet of that recharge area, which is located further west of the Rio Grande Valley. This is an unconfined aquifer well, so it doesn't go into the confined areas. It's just on the top of the water table. So whatever the level is that water table is, that's where it's going to level off. This is a flowing artesian well. If your ground level is lower than where your inlet's coming in, the water is going to be coming out of the ground. To the right, this will show you the cone of depression, how a pump works. So you have your water inlet coming in through the screens. This is a confined layer, and your static level is up here. Once you turn on that pump, your level is going to want to decrease down to where it finds the equilibrium of amount of water that's coming out of the well to what's coming into that well. So if we're throwing out 700 gallons per minute, we want 700 gallons per minute coming in through the screen, so it's going to bring it down to a certain level. Well, when we first started, our level was up here, and over the years, it's been just declining. So now I'm going to talk about well rehabilitation. This picture it's not of an SRWA well screen. It's similar, it's just not it. So you have a before and after. The before, it's the incrustation of the well screen and plugging of the gravel pack will affect the amount of water able to pass through, causing specific capacity to decrease. After a well rehabilitation, as you can see, all that incrustation is already removed. So it's removing the incrustation to allow more water flow to come in, and that should increase your specific capacity. Now, the common method is an acid wash. We did the common method back in 2020. Basically, it's chlorine. There are harsher acids that were used. We did 3 wells and a scrubbing. So basically, you throw your chemical into that well column, and you brush it. It'll take off all the scaling that might be on the screen. But the issue here is it's not only the screen that we got to worry about. We got to worry about that gravel pack outside of the screen. So as water flows in through that screen, it's bringing in any type of silt, any type of sand coming from the formation itself, and eventually it's going to start compacting into that gravel pack, restricting the flow in. So I would like to talk about the carbon dioxide method. It's both a chemical clean and a physical clean. It's a high energy clean when this is applied. I'm going to show you a quick video of this. So this system, it's called the AquaFreed. It's by Subsurface Technology. So step one, the well is sealed to confine the treatment area and gaseous CO2. So they seal the head here, and they inject CO2, liquid CO2, and it produces a mildly acidic, highly abrasive carbonic acid penetrating far into the surrounding formation. Step two, liquefied CO2 is injected into the well and surrounding formation where it expands rapidly, producing the necessary energy to detach, dislodge, and remove mineral incrustations and biofouling. Have you all seen those Mentos that thrown into Coke? What happens? It spurts out. Well, same type of, it's the same type of method, but we're going to cap that top, and since that screen is open at the bottom, all that energy is going to want to be pushed out to the bottom, pushing out any fouling of the gravel packing. So anything that just built up kind of hard in there, it should break it up and throw it back out. Step three, CO2 is released and the well mechanically developed using pumping and surging to remove the newly dislodged plugging material from the well formation. Step four, the well pump is reinstalled and the well returned to service, providing an increased supply with no hazardous waste stream to dispose of. I believe in 2022, it was, our project was placed on hold due to hazardous waste stream. We weren't sure of what to do with it, but this way we could just dispose of it on the ground. That concludes my presentation. If there's any questions.
Thank you very much for this time, and do you all have any questions?
Okay, I'll just ask what I just asked here, just say it publicly. I don't remember this being part of the optimization study, am I wrong? Was this mentioned in that? Or is this something that has since been brought to our attention?
Yes, it was.
There were some questions from the board members last board meeting about the wells. I think it's speaking for, Gabriela is the one that was asking for.
Yeah.
I'll probably reach out to her and see if she wants to sit down so we can see, we can go.
Oh, no,
different.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. I mean, but this particular method of treating the wells and reopening them, I don't remember that being part of the,
No,
this seems like a new piece of technology that has been brought to us.
it was something that we were looking into.
Okay.
Instead of doing the traditional methods, which we tried before, which wasn't very successful, we found this, I think it's out of New York, New Jersey, that they can come down, they can subcontract with a local Texas well driller and help us do this. So it is a new technology that wasn't proposed before, but if it works.
If it works, it'd be great. Have we talked to our consultants?
Geologists?
Yeah, our geologists and such.
Yes.
And they think it's worth a try, the mechanical.
Yes, he's reached out to the well driller that did a few wells here in Texas, and the well driller did say that the SRWA wells are a good candidate for this type of method.
Okay.
So we're trying, oh, there's a board item coming
There's
up.
a board item coming up.
Okay, awesome.
Related to this.
Appreciate it.
I think we were about 21%. A little bit. Now for the last item.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. My name is Jaime Flores. I'm the Water Resources Administrator. I'll give an idea of our update. So again, we have picked up just ever so slightly, 21.2%. combined ownership of Amistad and Falco reservoirs. This is still low. We haven't received any significant rain or tropical rain over the summer, so we're hoping that it is a little bit better than it was maybe 6 months ago, where we at least reached a low of maybe 17–18%. Again, you can see the previous 3 readings. January is 20.7, January 4th, January 11th, 20.9, and January 18th, 21.1%. So it is slowly creeping up, but again, it still keeps us in stage 2 drought restrictions. We did receive information from the National Weather Service, February to April 2025 outlook for the Lower Rio Grande Valley and Deep South Texas region. February to April 2025 is expected to average out warmer and drier than normal. There still needs to monitor the potential for heavy rainfall and flooding events during this time period, despite a drier than normal outlook. Given the right setup, showers and storms could result in heavy rainfall flooding, favoring late March and April if they occur. Dryness conditions will continue to expand through the rest of the winter and early spring season. And confidence remains high that the total combined storage will remain at or near record lows for March, which means continued limits on agricultural and municipal water use. And that's it. Any questions, folks?
No, I think we're set. Thank you, guys. And I think that concludes our update. I guess on to item number 3, the consideration of submission of a letter regarding deficient water treaty deliveries to public officials.
Thank you, Mr. President. Enclosed in your packet, we have 3 different letters going to various different officials within the federal government. The first letter that you have on here is the Honorable Marco Rubio, who has just recently designated as Secretary of State. He sent a similar letter a little less than a year ago to the previous Secretary of State. The second letter is to the Honorable Ted Cruz, our senator, our state senator for the state of Texas, and the third letter is also for the Honorable John Cornyn. All 3 letters state more or less various different things on there, the various things. This is really in reference to the consideration of currently was in what is known and referred as the 1944 U.S.-Mexico Treaty, which Mexico has an obligation to deliver the 1.7 approximately acre-feet of water to the United States over a 5-year cycle, and an average of 350,000 acre-feet per year. Obviously, this is something that on the treaty governs between the California all the way to Texas. There's various different things that are happening along the California-Texas border versus the California-Mexico border versus the U.S.-Mexico border along the Texas state. And so we felt that this was something that through our board chair of the Brownsville Public Utilities Board in consultation with the president of SRWA, that we should update and talk about the large water delivery deficits and where we're at. I will note that Mexico has made an effort to release additional water from other reservoir systems, but they fall below the Falcon and Amistad lakes, which there is no reservoir for us to store. And we have written separate letters in reference to that, and we are okay in taking some deliveries in consideration. And our Governor Abbott has made some saying yes on our behalf. All of this is administered through TCEQ. All of this goes through the water delivery systems and things. But for SRWA, we felt that it was important as a reclamation and conservation district, as what this organization was one for, and this plant is part of that, to be involved. All of you also have water rights, and we are the water supplies for the Brownsville Navigation District. We provide wholesale water for the Brownsville Navigation District from surface water. So, and your respective agencies also have that in water right allocation, so we felt it was important for this organization to take that stance. Any questions, comments, or edits to the letters in your packets?
I was gonna say that, and I apologize, but Quito is by name, it's not a nickname.
Oh, okay.
So it should be technically Quito though.
I will make that correction.
A lot of people take it as a nickname, it's my actual.
Okay, got it. I will correct it to Quito. I think it was put under We'll make those corrections. Any other corrections?
So we have no other corrections, I guess, you wanted us to take action?
Yes.
Sorry, what was that?
Motion.
Motion, oh, great, great. And
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Now, on to item number 4, the consideration and possible action to rehabilitate 2 wells using aqua-free carbon dioxide injection method.
Mr. President, members of the board, the Southern Regional Water Authority operates a series of wells that serve as critical infrastructure for water production in the region. Over time, these wells have experienced a decline in performance, reduced water yield, like Michael explained, and pumping efficiencies due to mineral scaling, biological fouling, and sediment buildup. In 2020, SRWA rehabilitated three wells, well 7, well 17, and well 18, using the traditional method of brushing, chemical acid cleaning with pumping and searching. The traditional method of rehabilitation resulted in a specific capacity increase between 4 and 8%. R.W. Hardin and Associates Inc. and SRWA are proposing to rehabilitate 2 wells using the aqua-free carbon dioxide injection method. According to Subsurface Technologies and their references, the aqua-free carbon dioxide injection method is effective at removing mineral incrustation, biological fouling, and physical plugging. Subsurface Technologies has the proprietary rights to utilize the aqua-free injection method. SRWA staff recommends rehabilitating 2 wells using the carbon dioxide injection method provided by Subsurface Technologies at Rock Tavern, New York, for a grand total amount not to exceed $225,120. And this is an action item.
I have a couple questions. Can we see who their references are, or can you share that maybe with the board? And what information they're willing to provide about?
We do have them right.
We got the references names. We can provide them at a later date.
And you guys talked to at least a few of the references to
Yes.
see what they said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. And then my other question, I guess, is, has there been any effort to reach out to any of our academic institutions to try to quantify the benefit and see if maybe there, anybody who has research interest in this area?
No, we haven't.
Shouldn't spend a lot of time doing it, but we could probably make a couple calls, at least that's true.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not to exceed $225,000. The cost to rehabilitate a single well, or to re-drill a well, because we weren't going to be able to rehabilitate them otherwise, was, do you remember what that number was roughly?
Yeah, well, the optimization, Carolo recommended reconstruction.
Yeah.
Reconstructing the wells would cost approximately $720,000 per well. For the 20 wells, it would be $14.4 million for the 20 wells. So in the way I see this is that we have an opportunity to maybe save that money in case we get the results that they're telling us that we can get.
Yeah, factor of roughly 7
Right.
savings? Okay.
If I may add, Dr. Holman, in conversations and meetings that we've had with Kevin Spencer from RW Hardin, he actually has been in communications with this contractor, and his recommendations was specifically to try 2 wells. One of them that had been plugged a large portion of it, and then the other one had a little bit less and more modest plugging. And these are out of the same 3 that were rehabbed in 2020. So he recommended the 2 that will be, I don't know the numbers.
Yeah, at this time we're thinking of doing this method with well 9 and 13.
So can I recommend we start with, I think it's well 13 is the better one, quote unquote better one, the less plugging.
Right.
And you know, if it works, then we move on to the next well. If it doesn't, we should, you know, at least have a quick discussion about whether it's worth trying that harder well or not. Because, you know, if it didn't work for the easier one, it won't work for the harder one. Yeah. It would be my recommendation. Yeah, let's.
He also stated our wells have a rather thick gravel pack, which is even more beneficial for this type of cleaning treatment, because he said there's a better chance to create a larger energy when they insert the carbon dioxide, because of the thick gravel lining, or they call it a pack, gravel pack.
Right. So the energy is going to spread roughly by R, distance away from the wellbore, because it's cylindrically kind of.
The reconstruction, let's say this doesn't work. I mean, the reconstruction basically what that is removing the gravel pack, but it does nothing to the surrounding ground. It seems like that energy is going to go past the gravel pack into the ground, unlodging anything that is plugging the surrounding area.
Right, but the only way this really works is if we keep that energy long enough to dislodge stuff from the gravel pack before it travels into the surrounding ground.
Correct.
Evaporates it more. Okay, yeah, no, I mean, I think, yeah, this is a definitely interesting technology to try. I mean, oh my goodness, if it works, it gets us far ahead of the game. I just ask that we try on one where it should work. And if it doesn't work, yeah, let's maybe not try the really hard one.
We were thinking about doing maybe one that is moderately plugged and one that is more, like a good mid one and a bad one.
Yeah, so I mean, I think starting with the moderately plugged one might be the smartest thing.
Yeah.
Mr. Garza?
Yes.
Was this the only company that they do this, or are they?
After doing research, we found only this company.
It's the only one.
And they don't share what the method that they actually use.
Yeah, no,
yeah, but yeah.
They're the only one.
Their patent should be expiring soon, so I'd be surprised if it's decent. Yeah, I think more people would be picking it up.
This company that they've done over 8,000 wells around the world, so they're known. It's just that their methods of proprietary, equipment that they have. So it's not common. It's not, like the common way is your chemical clean. Anybody could grab chemicals and throw it on the well. So just that it's not common to all well drillers. So that's why it's not really familiar to us.
So, do we have any other questions, or?
Well, you're probably going to have to change your recommended wording of the action in there, because you got rehab of 2 wells, you need to have rehab of 2 wells, because one is positive and the second one a negative. I don't know how you want to word that, but rather than just say 2, that kind of locks you in.
True, true. Although, I don't know, Paul, does...
Well, you could just say up to 2 wells, right? And
We
an
could-
amount not to exceed, because the instructions have been made if the board wants to adopt the recommendation as discussed, that way it incorporates the entire conversation that was made, including the prioritization of the less bad and assessment of the results before.
Medium.
Yeah,
Yeah,
will they force us to have them do the other well if we're giving them up to 2 wells? What if they do this one we don't like?
So the, you could also authorize, if you'd like to make it more express, it's implied in this recommendation, authorize the general manager or representatives to make sure it's priced appropriately, right? So that they're only, because it's just, this is presented as a package deal.
Because they might change their price.
Right,
Right,
that might
right.
change their pricing, so to address that, to negotiate in accordance with the recommendation.
The price for 1 well was 125,000.
Okay, so we got a little bit of a discount doing 2.
So we went with the 2 wells, because we thought
Yeah.
that'll give us a better chance to observe the improvement, if any.
Okay. I would suggest, because I can see how maybe making some of these measurements also might take time, and I know they're gonna have their people down, and it's cost of $4,000 extra per day if we delay it. So, as we sit there and we negotiate with this company, let's definitely, look at, let's look at what it would take for us to validate any performance improvement and what it would mean to their schedule. And, you know, maybe, but I think maybe we should say go ahead, and then if there has to be something that's amended, we amend it at the next meeting after staff has negotiated with them.
I might also mention R.W. Harden, we are contracting with him, the geologist,
Yes.
to provide a technical memo with the results of that. So he's going to be looking at that, but doing like pumping testing and stuff like that, and recalculating the specific capacity of the wells on the 2 that we do. So we are contracting with him to look at that, provide that.
We can go back and discuss this with the with the contractor that submitted the bid, and we'll come back. If we
Yeah,
need
and
to bring it back with the amended fee or whatever to include the delay or whatever, we'll come back to the.
Right, if it turns out it's like a 2-week delay, and so we gotta pay $4,000 a day for that, maybe we revisit our recommendation here, but, yeah, at least for now, like, I think if we can be as intelligent as possible. And, you know, maybe we see it didn't work well on the medium plugged well, and, yeah, people think it might work better on our lightly plugged wells, and rehabilitating those might still be beneficial. But yeah, I mean, we have 2 shots in our chambers, let's, yeah. And of course, I mean, this should all be, yeah. There may be a reason our consultants think the highly plugged well will perform, you know, more favorably. And if so, then, you know, we should talk about it.
I do want to ask staff on this, when you talked to the consultants, they recommended the 2 wells, was it because they were trying to understand how they both performed, or was it, and not knowing the specifics and all the details, or was it, they needed to monitor the well for a full year? So in other words, is this going to be monitoring 1 well for 1 year, understand how it performed, and then you do the second well to monitor the second year versus doing them both at the same time to see how they both performed? So I'm just trying to understand the scope of work of the work.
Yeah.
And also let me say that they say they wanted to take advantage of them being here because a lot of the cost is a mobilization. We're coming down, and that's why we want to do at least 2 in order to save a bit and, you know, the mobilization of their work.
And I'll just add that the last time that we rehabbed the wells in 2020, we had selected the worst wells. And his theory was maybe those were too far gone. So we want to take a look at two different wells that maybe, maybe we see a better improvement in one or the other.
So the intent of here is having two wells to understand the level, so there might be a point of diminishing point. It's too long, right? And so it may be better to do both wells, but we will do whatever this governing body wishes is with a discussion, and we will modify to that. But I just wanted to understand, is one data point enough to make a determination on the second?
Right. And so I would ask that we just go forward with this, saying, what if well one, the first well, whichever one we decide is best candidate for this, fails? What is our, what will be our go, no-go for well two? Or does it have to happen immediately after, like these guys go one day and then the next day they go to the next one? But just giving us a little more of a playbook so that when we see the results and let's say everything fails, worst case scenario, nothing works well and we're horrified, at least we know what process was followed, and it wasn't just, okay, well one failed, but maybe well two. We want to do more than hopes and dreams kind of thing.
Sounds good.
But without adding cost to the plan, where
the consultant's memo may well address the expectation of efficiency that's meant to be targeted, right? If 4 to 8% using on those other wells was disappointing, then whatever the range might be that's acceptable as an outcome, right?
That would be beneficial. Yes, having a projection for performance improvement.
And that's something we can measure in-house as far as the pumping level and the drawdowns. That's something we can almost immediately measure. But I would like to maybe give it a month. So I should say, right, okay, it's holding.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt. Like, because they're down here, we're going to have short-term actions just to figure out if we're going the right way, or what our plan B or plan C might be. And with the knowledge that, hey, maybe something else happens longer term. But I think just the short term, each well is basically going to be what, $112,000, so that we use those two bullets as efficiently as possible.
So if you're going to go by what the recommended action is, we've been all over the board, and so this recommended action is not necessarily what we're talking about in Grand Pro, because it's not to exceed, but there really isn't any verbiage in here of saying we're going to do one, maybe two, we're waffling here. How would you
Well, we might be able to go back to that, my first suggestion, which was SRWA, the board authorizes SRWA staff to rehabilitate up to 2 wells using this method by this contractor for a grand total not to exceed that amount, and authorizing staff to negotiate in accordance with discussion.
So your discussion means we're going to discuss on 2 and possibly going further on into 3, 4, whatever.
So you either don't take action, and the folks have instructions and based on the discussion and bring it back, right? That's one possible outcome, if we don't know enough, right? Yeah. But otherwise, you've had some detailed pieces to this puzzle that I think, consistent with this discussion, you can authorize staff to move forward, because if that's acceptable to the staff, I think that captures the idea that you were expressing. We want to move forward deliberately as deliberately as is reasonably possible. And if there's some logistical reason for moving forward in the mobilization costs, or the time it's going to take to evaluate that first one month being a reasonable time to assess the success or not, then you go to the other one, right? If, let's say, the first was successful. The staff, I think, has gotten some idea of what the board is looking for here.
Either way, we'll come back to the board next month and tell you the outcome of it, see where we're at.
So when do we plan on, if we approve this, when will this happen?
We can speak to our consultant, Kevin Spencer, and speak to the contractor. I can make some notes to the ramifications of us waiting a period while we assess your first cleaning and see what costs you, would add any cost to it. If it becomes significant, we'll come back to the board. We would just want to execute it. We'll come back and we're okay with moving forward with the process. But we'll get a clear picture from both our consultant and the contractor.
Okay. I think if we approve this, I would just like a strategy for, hey, yeah, well one comes back, yeah, well one being our first well, not well one, comes back successfully. We jump into this immediately. Well, yeah, we're gonna say successful, yeah, within 12 hours is based off this small criteria, which may or may not, be.
You're talking about the positive side of this.
Right, and then I was going to say on the negative side. Yes.
Overlook that.
We want to know, okay, you've decided to try, let's say, the medium plug well.
Right.
And it doesn't work. Is there justification after that to still try the harder well? Or should we, because we still have that second shot, we paid for 2, should we just try to get as much possible by cleaning a lightly fouled well?
Well, let's say, for instance, that you do the first one and you end up with a 2% increase. That doesn't warrant going ahead with the second one. I don't, if the test's on a low percentage like that.
This is a good point, and so maybe if we cancel halfway through, like say we don't even do the second one, what will that cost? So just having the decision matrix in front of us, knowing that we've thought through everything, so that we're not just, okay, that's another 125 grand, guys. We're done. Just as smart, but we should move on. I see some.
No, it sounds like there's stuff to bring back the next meeting.
Yeah, unless
with a more detailed plan, a lot of the costs fleshed out, timing, and that's not a problem.
Yeah, Dr. Holman, I suggest that we will revisit with the vendor so that we can have all of those extra questions answered in their proposal in monetary amounts. So that way we can come back and present it at next month's meeting. And by next month's meeting, we will definitely know what the time of action will be upon execution of this contract.
I move to table this particular issue until our follow-up meeting next month. And you'll have all the information.
Correct.
Okay. And the only thing I want to add to that is make sure you talk to the consultant as well as the vendor. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. And if something comes out timing-wise and you're like, oh no, we need to execute this immediately for whatever reason.
Yeah, we'll come back.
Yeah, we can figure that out, but I can't imagine that being the case. Okay, last action item is the time and date for the next meeting.
We have the next meeting for SRWA board meeting scheduled for March the 3rd, and for reference to March the 10th, we need a committee board meeting on there. Any other questions or counters or subsequent items for us to on?
I think we're good. So I will, I don't think we need to do anything on that, right?
We have the SRWA board meeting schedule that we have on here. If there's any conflicts or commitments from your other specific boards, please let us know and we will try and bring it up and address it for next meeting.
So I guess I will entertain a motion to adjourn and eat lunch.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We negotiate, more finalized contract instead of a term sheet.